Okay, this video is going to cover how to grout travertine stone tile. And just to give you a quick idea, we're already into it here. So I want to show you one thing before we start. The pattern on install, if you've ever done tile before, this is our actual layout pattern. You can turn this way. This is your actual layout pattern. It tells you how to start. What we ended up doing here is, as you look at it, it's kind of hard to pick up after it's installed. But everything is actually in sequence with each other. You know, where you see a big stone here, you'll see another big stone there, one under it, and then you'll see another large stone there. It's all done in sequence pattern. So if you are familiar with tile, it's very easy to put down. It cuts fabulously with a porcelain stone blade on a wire wheel. And the grout line that we're trying to do today, that we're looking for, is done a little bit slower process than a regular grouted floor. In a grouted floor, you would use your actual grout and float in a diagonal dimension this way and back and forth. And what that does is that ensures that you're packing all the grout lines, usually a 1/4 inch and under. When you get into travertine, it's a little bit different because the rock is so porous that as you look at it, you can't skim anything over top of it, because what will happen is you'll fill in all these little potholes and you'll never ever be able to get any of the grout out of it, which means two things. Number one, you'll have everything pitted up with gray grout in this case, and then the other area is everything's going to look splash gray right over top of it. Now the little bit of haze that you see left on after sponging, that will wash right up, but you don't want to have anything too thick or too consistent in the joints. To give you an idea how to go about getting that, you'll see by this area right here, you'll see the thin set lines underneath where the tile is actually set down in the bed of mortar, and that's just fortified thin set. And then the idea is to be able to grout this line without getting the grout all over the tile, and you do that with what's called a grout bag. And here's a basic grout bag. It could be bought anywhere, a tile supply shop, kind of like a pastry chef's bag. Same principle. It's got a reinforced tip on the end so it doesn't blow apart. And what you want to do, I took a shot of the actual grout that you'll see in the bag. And the grout in the bag, you want it to be consistent, but you don't want it to be runny where it's soup, and you don't want it to be thick where it's going to be an issue putting down. Because the idea here is you actually have to squeeze into the grout line, and you want to try and do that by twisting the top of the bag. And when you squeeze in the grout line, what that does is that fills just the grout line itself. And then naturally your follow-up from that is to take your sponge back. The way I do it is drag my sponge across it, and I'll flip the sponge several different directions before I need to rinse it out. And what that'll do is that'll give you an actual smooth line grout line where you still see the chipping on the edges of the travertine, but at the same time you don't have an excessive buildup left and right side. So by doing that, that gives you a nice cut. Now another thing that a lot of guys will do for a little decorative is they'll run a similar to like a drywall tool, a corner tool, and they'll run it down the middle like this, which will actually give you like a cut line. This homeowner opted to have a smooth look with the grout. That's what they preferred to have, and this is what you end up with as you go. Okay, we're going to do this one section towards the camera so you can see how it's put in. So basically you're just twisting the end of the bag, and just like a pastry chef, you're filling up the slot. And we'll do one over here. And we'll come up to this joint. And that's probably about as far as you'll be able to see. What it should look like once you fill. It's not going to be 100% filled in because some areas are more excessive than others. And what I like to do is let it sit a little bit and then come back with the sponge. And you'll see high lows. If you take your product that's still on your sponge, you can push back and bring it around. Just watch the excess on the tile. You don't want to exceed and have too much on that tile, because then again that ruins the effect of the travertine. Okay, and just by working in the floor, you'll end up getting it to the point that you're satisfied with. Okay, as you get your grout down,
as we had mentioned, you want to keep stroking flatly without pushing in on the sponge. And the idea again, obviously, is to keep as much off of the stone as you possibly can. So if I keep constantly doing that, and then rinsing out your sponge, all the sand will drop to the bottom of the bucket, and then just continue stroking across it so you get a nice even look, and it doesn't look like there's a gigantic buildup on the stone. It is a little bit of a process. It does take, as far as I'm concerned, a little longer to do grout this way than it would be with a traditional float, but you can't use the float here, and that's the key. Now this particular area would be left alone to dry. And that's it. You just continue through the rest of your room. And then when you're all finished, there is a product that you can buy for dehazing to get this little bit of oxidized hazing off the tile. It'll come right up. Thanks for watching.